Well, up until this point, pretty much the entirety of the Lakers' new team and their new additions have come through the buyout market, with them having gotten both Marcus Smart and DeAndre Ayton through the buyout market. So with that in mind here, could that trend continue for them? After all, they do have an open spot left, and while they cannot immediately fill it, if they would either do a salary dump trade to then open up more payroll space to stay below that first apron, or simply wait until roughly January when they could sign another player to that spot, could it be through the buyout market, and are they not done with the buyout market yet? In my opinion, it definitely could be a real possibility. At this point, there definitely are some buyout candidates left, and whether they come in the next week, the next month, or simply prior to the trade deadline, I think there will be more on the way here. Not simply one or two of them, but up to 5 to 10 of them even. I really don't think the buyout market's done yet, and it could be a viable pathway for the Lakers to improve their team further, and not to mention doing it without giving up a trade asset. Something they have already been doing, something they have been prioritizing, and probably would like to do again if possible. So with that being said, we're going to talk about 6 different buyout candidates that I think could hit the buyout market. Again, whether that's next week, next month, or simply prior to the trade deadline, or even after the trade deadline, I think they likely will hit the buyout market and could be a potential option, either a good option, decent option, or maybe not a great option, and we'll talk about why, going through each of them and talking about their potential fit with the Lakers team. So without further ado here, beginning with buyout candidate number 1, and this is by far the most likely one in my opinion, pretty much a near guarantee at this point and could happen any day now too. That player being Kevin Love. A former LeBron James teammate, winning a championship with LeBron back in 2016. Definitely isn't the player that he was back then, but is still a very liked teammate, and not to mention friend off the court to LeBron. Is still a guy that can, fill a limited role in a rotation, is a good veteran leader, is a good teammate, simply a good guy to have in your locker room. He could be an option, definitely not my favorite option, but definitely is a very realistic buyout candidate. Coming off a season of averaging roughly 5 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, shooting 35.8% from 3, only playing about 11 minutes per game, and only playing in 23 total games, so again, definitely not the most heavily rotation player option that might hit the buyout market, definitely not the guy that could fill a starting role for their team, let alone even a big role in the rotation. At this point, he'd simply be more of a locker room veteran leader, a guy that would be a good friend to LeBron and give him somebody back in his space rather than the Luka Doncic priority lane. If they want to go that route, and if they want to simply add a guy that's not looking for a ton of playing time, then he could be an option. However, I definitely wouldn't prioritize him, and he's not my favorite option. And apart from him, I definitely look to a guy that could fill a bigger role in the rotation, a guy that could fill an actual need for the rotation, whether that be a backup center upgrade, a 3-and-D wing, or something close to it. Those are the 2 priorities that I would take a harder look at. And for that fit, a guy that might be able to do it, or at one time was able to fill it, is a guy like Pat Connaughton. After being traded to Charlotte, having a 1-year contract, expiring contract, I wouldn't doubt if they flat out waive him and don't even do a contract buyout. I wouldn't be shocked by it, whether it takes up until the trade deadline or prior to the training camp, I wouldn't be shocked by it. And while with Pat Connaughton, also a little bit like Kevin Love, isn't quite the player that he once was, but is quite a bit younger than Kevin Love, 32 compared to being nearly 37, theoretically could get back to what he once was if he could find his groove again and find his shooting touch, is a 35.6% career 3-point shooter, also having a plus 0.3 defensive BPM rating. Stat-wise does point to him being a 3-and-D option, wasn't quite that last season, hasn't quite been that for about 2 years now, so might be a bit of a risk, definitely wouldn't be the best option, but if you're getting it for free and if there's no better option left at that point, then maybe not the worst option. Coming off a season of averaging about 5 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, shooting 32% from 3, and obviously that's not too good, but can still be a viable wing in a rotation, simply playing about 15 minutes per game and having championship background on team wouldn't be the worst option, and I guess I wouldn't hate it. Though again, definitely wouldn't be my favorite option. So moving down the line here into a bit of a better option, this could be a guy like KJ Martin, is a lot younger than both Pat Connaughton and Kevin Love, only being 24 years old, also having a roughly $8 million salary for next season, which is completely non-guaranteed. So if the Utah Jazz don't see him as part of their future and not as a part of their rotation, then they could opt to flat out waive him for nothing. And I definitely wouldn't be shocked by it. Following him coming off a season where he didn't play that much and didn't play that well, playing with a combination of both Philadelphia and Utah after the trade deadline, averaging roughly 6.5 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, shooting 55% from the field, which is very good for a wing, but shooting a paltry 25.9% from 3. And you know, at one time he definitely looked to have 3 in the upside, both during his rookie year and during his second year, shot above 35% from 3, also improving on defense and looked to be a very good rebounder for a wing, playing anywhere from small forward, power forward, even some small ball center in a pinch here and there, is an athletic freak, can be a lob threat, great rim runner, or simply a great floor running guy and a guy that definitely can throw some fun alley-oops to. KJ Martin definitely wouldn't be a terrible option. I simply don't love it because he's not a reliable 3-point shooter. Next to guys like LeBron, Luka, and Austin, you kind of have to be. He's not going to play on the ball that much, so if he can't be a somewhat reliable 3-point shooting option, then he wouldn't be a reliable option in the rotation. Though I guess you can't deny the athletic ability with him, the upside, again, he's only 25 years old, the fact that he could grow with their team and could be a decent back-end rotation option for their team, I wouldn't be entirely opposed to it with KJ Martin. However, he definitely won't be my favorite target, whether you're talking about off the buyout market or simply being waived and hitting the free agent market. There are a few options I would like ahead of him. And if you can't tell, on every target or every option I mention I like a little bit better each time, whether it be a fit upgrade, a production upgrade, both, every time it gets a little bit better. And for the fourth option here I have Kyle Anderson. Yes, he is under a 2-year contract, but the second year of that is completely non-guaranteed. So if they would buy him out for this season, which I think is a likely option, then they could simply waive his contract for next season and owe him completely nothing. And well, if they would go that route, meaning the Utah Jazz here once again, 3 different targets in their team that could be buyout candidates, I wouldn't be entirely opposed to it, and I think he'd actually be a pretty good option. No, he might not be the best 3-point shooting option, isn't the most athletic option, but is a very good defensive option. And if you have not watched him play, Kyle Anderson can do a lot on defense, and even on offense too, but is a very viable defensive option, having a career rating of plus 2.5 defensive BPM, very impressive and borderline elite at that for a role player, coming off a season of having a plus 2.2 defensive BPM rating, a plus 0.9 value over replacement rating, even shooting fairly well from the 3-point line, shooting 35.7%, albeit on a low volume of only 1.1 attempts per game, averaging roughly 6 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, over 2 assists per game, nearly 1 steal per game, and playing anywhere from power forward, small forward, even a little bit of point forward in a pinch, even some small ball center in a pinch. He is a very versatile option and one that wouldn't be a bad option for the rotation. Now, he might not be the big name option like the 2 guys I'm about to mention after him, but he'd actually be a pretty good fit and definitely would improve their defense off the bench. So I definitely wouldn't be opposed to signing Kyle Anderson off the buyout market. Though after Kyle Anderson, finishing up with the 2 big names left on our list, one of which being Khris Middleton, and yes, I think he could be a buyout option. I don't see any team trading for him. I mean, yes, he is still pretty productive when he's on the court, but unfortunately that's kind of been the issue with him during the past few years now. Last season playing only 37 games, during the 23-24 NBA season only playing 55 games, only 33 during the 22-23 NBA season, and only accounting for roughly 100 games overall here. So for that price, I don't see a team trading for him, not giving up real trade assets, and more likely than not, the Washington Wizards will eventually waive him or simply buy him out of his contract. And if they would go that route, like they have already have with Marcus Smart for example, then I might have some interest off the buyout market. Like I said, I would like the Lakers to target a 3-and-D wing, and Khris Middleton actually gets pretty darn close to it. When he's on the court, he's still a great offensive player, even arguably a 2-way player when he's really healthy and really committed like he was during the 2024 NBA playoffs. I mean, at that point, he was averaging roughly 25 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game, and shooting 35.5% from 3. You know, definitely showing his ability to be a 2-way option yet when healthy. If the Lakers could get that version of him, that would be an obvious upgrade for their team, even for a playoff run, and I think it would be worth it at that point. If they wait until the trade deadline or post-trade deadline buyout market, then Khris Middleton hits the open market, I wouldn't be entirely opposed to him. Yes, again, the health is an issue, but for simply a postseason run and a late postseason push, I definitely think Khris Middleton could help their team out, maybe even on both ends of the court. If he can get back to where he was defensively, even a fraction of it, then he wouldn't be a bad defensive option, is a great 3-point shooting option, could even be a third or fourth scoring option for their team. That actually could be a sneaky pickup at that time for their team. And with Luka Doncic recruiting and showing his ability and wanting to do it, I don't think it would be off the table for them. But if not for Khris Middleton and they do go after a big name off the buyout market, one last name left and one last option left could be Nikola Vucevic. No, he's not a wing option like Khris Middleton, Kyle Anderson, or KJ Martin, but you definitely could argue that he would be an upgrade for their backup center, even could compete and be better in some matchups than DeAndre Ayton. You know, I'm not sure he'd want to join their team and take their fairly limited role off the bench, but if for whatever reason he would, and if Luka Doncic again might recruit him, a fellow European, you know, maybe it can happen and I definitely wouldn't be opposed to it. Still is very productive yet, coming off actually a pretty resurgent season for himself, averaging 18.5 points per game, 10.1 rebounds per game, 3.5 assists per game, shooting 40.2% from beyond the arc, and that's the best in over half a decade for himself. Also 53% from 3, showing his ability to be a decent scoring option, a decent playmaking option, even being able to operate and playmake out the high post and mid to low post. Definitely could add versatility to their offense, though he wouldn't be a defensive upgrade and even at times might be a bit of a defensive problem. So with that in mind here, I guess I wouldn't be opposed to Nikola Vucevic. If you're basically getting him for free at that point, you really can't say no to it. If he'd want to join their team, if he'd want to take the role that they offer with their team, then I probably couldn't say no to it at that point. Now I do think Chicago will probably hold out and try to get something through him through trade, though I don't think they'll be able to and eventually will buy him out, probably post trade deadline. And if that turns out to be the case, then whether you're talking about Nikola Vucevic, Khris Middleton, maybe a guy like Kyle Anderson or KJ Martin, that might be a viable option for the Lakers, and again, an option without giving up a trade asset. So coupling that with making a trade, either simply a salary dump or maybe for a minor upgrade, maybe even a bigger trade for a true 3-and-D wing, then signing somebody like Nikola Vucevic or Khris Middleton added onto that, that could be a very good option for them and potentially a really sneaky pathway to upgrade their team further. So with that in mind here, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the Lakers signing or final signing potentially coming through the buyout market, either in the near future if they would make a salary dump kind of move, or around the trade deadline or post-trade deadline buyout market? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.